Hey, good morning, everyone. So this is not necessarily, this isn't about the cube, but this is in response to questions that students have had, say, regarding jobs. So the welding test, which I know terrifies everybody when you're new. So here's things that at least sort of lay out things you should do and watch out for. Keep in mind that you are a student, a new graduate, so people hiring you should be aware that you're new. You've just come out of a program, you got, let's say, a year of experience. They're not expecting you to have the same capabilities that, say, I have, or somebody else who's been doing this for years. They know that. What they are looking for is that you know and understand your basic competencies, you understand basic principles, you know your metals, what's the difference between aluminum and steel, copper and brass, cast iron, okay, and Inconel. You know what those are. You're not going, I never heard of that before. Okay, you know your different types of tungsten. You know your rods, 70-18, 60-13, 60-11, 60-10, 70-24. You're familiar with those things, and you know why they're used. Okay, these are things that are basic knowledge, and you should know. And if you don't, refresh your memory. I mean, even I go back and read over things from time to time just to make sure I remember things correctly and I don't goof something up. Okay. Now, approaching the welding test. Always ask what it is, okay? Don't just walk in blind. If somebody says, oh yeah, next Monday can you come and we'll administer a welding test, always ask, what does that test consist of? And they should tell you, all right, we want you to perform this or that or the other thing. Every welding shop is different and every industry is different. If it's a structural shop, they will be doing different tests than an aerospace shop or a shop that builds pressure vessels or roll cages. So find out what it is, and I say, oh yeah, well, you're doing a vertical, a 3G or a 3F or something, or we want you to do an overhead or a 1G flat. Is it using open root or is it a closed root test? What thickness of metal? You don't want to suddenly show up and realize, hey, I'm all ready for a steel test and somebody just plopped down a chunk of aluminum in front of me. Oh boy. So find out what those things are. Now, when you should always show up with your gear in good repair, okay? This sounds silly, but sometimes you see people show up for welding tests and they don't even have a helmet with them. They don't have their gear with them. It's like, excuse me? What is that about? I have seen this, okay? I have seen this. Show up with your equipment in good repair. Make sure you have everything. Don't show up and go, oh crap, I forgot my gloves in my trunk or something, or I left them home. Have all your stuff, okay? Earplugs, helmet, your jacket, okay? Make sure you've got a clean and new plastic lens in your helmet. Okay, I've seen so many students who keep welding, like, I can't see what I'm doing, only to look and that the plastic lens over their filter is completely like yellow with abrasions and dirt, and no wonder they can't see anything. Clean and change the filter so you have a new one you can see really clearly. Make sure your lens is working properly, that the batteries aren't going to fail in the middle of your welding test. Check everything twice. Make sure it's there. Now, when you get there, okay, and they say, oh, here's your machine. Just be warned, I had a foreman in the distant past who used to intentionally mess up the settings on the machines because he didn't want to see anybody coming in for a weld test who just jump on any old machine and start welding without checking everything. Remember your basic like, before flight. Call it like, just say like a pilot does before flying an airplane. Check that machine out, because if somebody's trying to trick you to see how observant you are, you don't want to be caught. It's embarrassing. So do the things that we've done in the lab. Check your power cable. Is it even plugged in? You know how many times guys started welding and they're like, my machine's broken, and somebody else says, dude, you're not even plugged in. That's very common. If that happens on a weld test, don't be surprised we don't call you back. Check your cable, power cable. Is it plugged in? Is it frayed? Has it got holes in it? Whatever. Same thing's true for your welding leads, whether you're stick welding, MIG welding, or TIG welding. Check your leads. Are they plugged into the correct polarity? I wouldn't be surprised, and I mean, I've done it. You hook up the cables the wrong way just to make sure somebody doesn't just grab the stinger and start welding, realizing their polarity is backwards. Check that. Make sure it's correct. Make sure they're in all the way and firmly attached. Okay? Check the bottle if you're using gas. Does it have gas in it? Is the regulator hooked up? Is the regulator hose hooked up to the machine or to your torch properly? When you turn the bottle on, always turn your regulator on slowly. Please don't just suddenly crank the thing wide open, okay? You can damage the regulator, and you don't want to show somebody you're ham-fisted like that. Open it slowly, because otherwise you can damage the diaphragm inside, and that's not nice. Okay, make sure your gas of your TIG welding is set correctly. Same with MIG. That your CFM is set properly. You should have a ballpark feeling for what that is. And if not, consult your books and read up on it, okay? You should always, I would always request that you have given a piece of scrap metal to tune up your machine on, because every machine is different, okay? Just like cars, every car drives differently, every welder is different. Make sure that the machine is running right and that your amperage is where you need it. Because even though it may say 125 amps on the dial, that machine may not be outputting 125 amps. It may be outputting far less, or it could be outputting far more. You don't know until you actually try it. So request a piece of scrap material, same thickness as that you're going to be doing a welding test on. I've never heard of anybody refusing that. That would be ridiculous. If they're doing that, then these are not nice people. Tune the machine up and get set to where you're comfortable. Especially if they're going to be having you doing tests in multiple positions, you need to adjust your amperage or your wire feed settings to do those different positions. Welding flat is different from welding overhead or welding a vertical, so you need to adjust those. You don't want to be adjusting the machine on your welding plate, okay? So make sure you do those things, okay? Now, and don't freak out, okay? That stage fright is a real killer. I mean, you can be incredibly knowledgeable and really good, and you go into a weld test and everything goes out the window. Okay, when you're under stress, you're going to lose a lot of your smarts. So relax and remember, they know you're a student. Now, one of the biggest things I've heard that should give you confidence is that what employers are really, really looking for is how you conduct yourself. They want to see somebody who's a professional. You set up your work area, you're checking out your machine carefully, you're setting up your work area carefully, you are knowledgeable on the basics, you're friendly, you have a good demeanor, you're polite, you're patient, you don't talk out of turn. You know, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. People want to see somebody who can come into their family, okay, and join their family at the shop, and who other people want to be around, want to work with. If you're working with somebody, by OSHA rules, you're a team. You're paired up with another person for 8, 10, 12 hours a day in close, intimate quarters sometimes. You don't want to be trapped with somebody all day who's a complete psycho. That's happened to me, and it's terrible. And honestly, those people will not stay long at the job. When enough people complain to the foreman or the owner, hey, that's this person, we can't work with this person, they're gone, okay? They're gone. So you don't want to be that person. What we've heard is they're looking for people who are trainable, okay? Who can learn. If you have solid basics that can be built upon, this is what companies want to see. And they're not worried that you're going to do a perfect weld test, okay? Because you can always learn, and they want to train you. They want to teach you. But if you're a person who has an attitude that shows that you're not open to that, or you're like a know-it-all. They're like, hey, this person can't learn here and we don't want them in the shop. That's when you won't get hired. So please don't worry that, oh wow, if I don't ace this weld test and have perfect penetration through the back and my welds are dead straight and all my ripples are perfectly spaced out, I'm not going to get the job. No, 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 no. The real test is in you, okay? Your attitude, how you present yourself, cleanliness, politeness, being open, friendly. And this is what we've heard back from employers when our students have gotten hired. Not that their weld tests were perfect, but that they were good people. They were polite, they were friendly, they were really, you know, these are the people you wanted to be around. So for you, this is what you want to show, okay? If you do this, you will get the job. Because then they know, hey, here's somebody that we can really teach our way. Another one is, never, ever, 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 number one, go into a shop and ever say that, hey, that's not the way I was taught, or we did things differently at this other shop we were at. That will get you immediately turned down or fired if you're at the shop, because every shop is a school unto itself, okay? Once you leave the welding program, that's the beginning of your education. Every shop you work at is another school. Well, you will learn new things, new ways, new techniques, and you have to approach it that way. While you're there, you're going to learn as much as you can from the people around you. And it is studying and learning. It never, ever, ever stops. Every shop is a school. So, being that it is like that, even if you have 10 years of experience, say, in doing aerospace titanium, and you go to apply the job at, let's say, a structural iron company that does buildings, bridges, civil stuff, you know nothing. You know nothing. You are a beginner. And if you walk in there with the attitude like, I know everything, they will say, this guy cannot learn and we don't want him here. That attitude in this shop. Always be humble wherever you go, and an open mind that you're here to learn new stuff. And every shop is its own culture, and you need to know that culture and be perceptive of that culture. The foreman sets the culture, as does the owner. Hey, some shops have great cultures that are a blast to work in, and there are shops where the culture is sick and the shop has problems, and you want to be open to perceiving that stuff. Just because they offer you a job doesn't mean, A, you'll accept it, or two, you may not stick around there that long. You'll work there until you find a better place, because there's some shops where the culture is not fun to work in, it's very unpleasant. You don't want to spend years there, because eventually the smell sticks to you and it follows you, okay? Because everybody in the trades knows each other. Just yesterday I was at my local welding shop, and I happened to run into a guy that I worked with almost 20 years ago at the same shop, and we're like, hey, I know you worked at such and such a place, and hey, you know this guy, and we all know each other. And if you know, you got to be aware of that. If you give yourself a bad reputation, it's going to follow you wherever you go. And everybody in the metal trades knows everybody else. It's like the 6 degrees of separation, but I'd say like 3 degrees of separation. It's a very tight family, okay? So keep these in mind when you're interviewing at a shop or doing a weld test. Keep an open mind, relax, remember you're a student, and be open to learning new things, and be really frank about that. You know, say, hey, you know, I know my basics and stuff, but you know, I'll do my best. And if they see that you're genuine and genuine and open and stuff, they'll want to be around you, and they'll want to teach you more, and they want you to grow with them. That's the biggest thing with the companies that we deal with when they ask us for, hey, can you recommend a student to hire? This is what they want. They want people who are open, who can grow with them and be part of the family. So for those of you that are have graduated and you're kind of waiting for this whole virus thing to blow over and you're calling people right now, and those of you who are actually students now who may be offered side jobs. I know students who are working after they do classes, they go off to a local place and do work for them. This is how you will get the jobs, okay? You also have to be hungry. You gotta go out there. I mean, I can point you out to jobs I've heard of, or maybe say, hey, that place might be good, but the work is up to you. You have to hustle. You gotta be hungry. You have to scour the internet, see what shops are around you online. There are plenty of job websites that post jobs from all over the country, all over the world. You should be checking them out daily, okay? A couple times a day. See what's new, what's hot. Call them. Check out their websites. You should never ever show up to a weld test or a job without knowing everything about that company you can find out, either the print media or the online. Just Google their website. What do they do? What kind of company is it? Do they look good? You know, one of the things which is kind of telling is if you Google a company's website and the website hasn't been updated in like 5 years, you can always tell because look at the very bottom of the page. There'll be a last modified date at the bottom of the page. If that website has not been updated in years, you know, that kind of leads you to think like maybe they're not doing too well, or maybe they don't care enough to post what they're doing. Maybe it just means they're really busy. But any company these days that doesn't maintain their online profile is something that's kind of like, you know, guys. Because I know one company I worked with, they used to update it all the time, and then when the company started to go downhill, they stopped maintaining their website and posting new pictures, and it'll kind of let you know, things are not doing too good that place. So find out everything you can, okay? Nobody walks onto a battlefield without thorough reconnaissance of the field you're about to step on, and you should be doing the same. Do not be ignorant. Do not be blind, okay? Like I've told you, in this career, you'll never, ever be unemployed if you're smart about it and you use all the tools at your advantage. It's not just going to fall into your lap. Like any job, it will not fall into your lap. But we have tremendous advantages in our field. No matter where the economy is, if the economy tanks, everybody is repairing everything they got because they can't afford to buy new stuff. If the economy goes bonkers,